Two big items going into Monday's New York hush money trial, the first of 4 criminal trials that Donald Trump is facing. There's breaking news as well tonight in the federal documents trial, and we'll get to that shortly. First things first, though, late today, the former president was asked whether he would testify in his New York trial, and this is what he said.
I would testify, absolutely. It's a scam. It's a scam. That's not a trial. That's not a trial. That's a scam. And what they're doing is a crime. They are criminals. All I can do is tell the truth. And the truth is that there's no case. They have no case.
So that's item one. He claims he would testify, but would and will are two different things, and it remains to be seen if he actually will sit down on the stand under oath. Item two is what the judge today ruled on another delay attempt, plus a new request about jury selection. For that, we go to Kara Scannell. So, Kara, can you just talk about this last-minute filing from the Trump team?
So there was a new decision tonight by Judge Juan Merchan, who's overseeing the case, saying that he was denying Trump's motion for pretrial publicity. Trump was saying that because of all the publicity, he couldn't get a fair trial in New York. Judge denied that, saying that Trump, in fact, has caused a lot of the pretrial publicity, saying delaying this case is not tenable because there will never be a period of time when there isn't publicity. But Trump's team also made a late filing today that is related to this issue. They asked the judge to amend how he is going to question the jury pool when they first come in. The judge said he would ask if anyone could not serve on this jury because they're not fair or impartial or for any other reason. Trump's team is asking the judge to separate that because they want to try to build data for their appeal. They've been arguing that they should get a change of venue in this case because of the publicity and because they believe Manhattanites tend to vote Democratic and would be against Trump. So they want the judge to separate it and ask anybody here who can't be fair and impartial, separate from anyone who can't serve in this jury because maybe they have a religious reason or for some other reason such as travel. So they're trying to build data for this appeal that they tried to execute earlier this week, and also to argue that they should just move this case out of New York City. And
did the judge rule on that motion yet? And could the Trump team on Monday still, try to come up with another filing?
So the DA's team will have a chance to respond to this, and the judge has not ruled yet. This is likely to be the topic of conversation when everyone enters into the courtroom on Monday morning before the judge brings the first pool of jurors in. And then it's likely the judge will make his ruling on this. He could amend it to accommodate that, or he could stick with what he's done. He previously said he didn't want to individually question these jurors because he said he found that to be unnecessary and didn't really yield a different result. But the question will be before the judge when everyone assembles into that courtroom on Monday morning.
Kara Scannell, thanks so much. Joining us now on the law and the politics, former Trump campaign advisor and current CNN senior political commentator David Urban, Temidaya Agenga-Williams as well, who served as senior investigative counsel to the House January 6th committee, and also former Manhattan Chief Assistant District Attorney Karen Friedman Agnifilo. So, Temidaya, what do you think the former president's trying to basically change the jury selection process at this point?
What I think he's trying to do is find a basis in the appeal to say that he's not getting a fair jury.
So he's sort of trying to gather data, as Kara said.
Yeah, he's planning for a potential conviction here, because what he's trying to say is that I want to understand all the different bases by which these jurors could perhaps not be fair to me and not be impartial. And I want to parse it out. So if I want to highlight specific things to the appellate court, I'm able to have that information from the trial court to send up. He's preparing, like a good lawyer should, his legal team here, preparing for the potential that he's either convicted and wants to challenge this process, or if he wants to seek some kind of interlocutory appeal now, meaning he wants to challenge a go-up right now in the middle, that he has the opportunity to do so.
Karen, do you actually think it's likely he would testify?
Look, he thinks he's his best spokesperson, and he testified in his E. Jean Carroll case and also in the Arthur and Gorin civil fraud trial. So I think he feels he's got nothing to lose, because why wouldn't he? He already thinks that people in Manhattan can't be fair and impartial. And so what has he got to lose? He really only has to convince one person, and then he could get a hung jury. So I think it is likely that he would testify. Why wouldn't he?
David, what do you think? Do you think he would? Do you think he should?
Listen, to Karen's point, I think that the chance of Donald Trump getting a fair trial in New York City may not be zero, but it's pretty close to zero, right? In the filing that the president's lawyers submitted to the court, they submitted a poll of 2,000 Manhattanites that found that 61% of people in Manhattan already believe that Trump's guilty in this case. And if you peel back the onion a little bit further and go to the 2020 election, 76% of people in New York City, Manhattan, in this jury pool voted for Joe Biden. 23% voted for Donald Trump. So it's going to be pretty tough to find a jury that is not somehow predisposed. If you find that pro-Trump juror, it's like finding a needle in a haystack. And we're hearing all this talk about data and building data. I think in the year 2024, the fact that we're relying on jurors to self-report bias is kind of crazy. Data is available, readily available. You could gather tons of data on every one of these jurors, see what they've looked at on their internet searches, and see if they voted for Trump or posting anti-Trump messages on social media. It's easy to find whether somebody is pro-Trump or not. And then when they go and seat in this jury, who's going to want to recuse themselves from the biggest trial in the history of New York City?
David, you want the deep state to be investigating potential jurors?
I think relying on people in these instances, right, jurors to self-report in criminal cases is a little nutty. I do, Anderson. Listen, I was a jury foreman in a rape trial in Alexandria, Virginia, and I can tell you it's a pretty scary place to be if you're a defendant.
Temidaya, I mean, what do you think about the ability to find fair jurors? I mean, even if people have a predisposition or they don't like somebody, many jurors would say, well, I can still be fair based on whatever the evidence presented is.
Yeah, and we see that every day. So I would disagree with David's perspective. I was a federal prosecutor, and I've done trials. And people take this really, really seriously. They treat this like a solemn event. And I think I have a lot of faith in jurors. And I think the fact that someone is from Manhattan or how they voted does not determine whether or not they're going to be a fair juror. And that's why we have those, I think, 40 plus questions that the judge is going to be asking here, because you do have the opportunity to parse out, to answer the question. And then you'll ask them a lot of things. Who did what kind of podcasts you listen to? What TV shows do you watch? What books have you read? If anyone in your family is law enforcement. All these questions give you incredible insight into who a juror is. And it's not merely asking them, can you be fair? All these other data points allow the lawyers to really parse out who these people are. And I think that's why, on average, right, our jurors really tend to end up at the right result here if the government can meet its high burden.
Karen, what's your experience? Because, the whole system is based on a jury of your peers and people from all walks of life just coming in.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like it's a different standard here in Manhattan than it is in every other courtroom in this entire country in both state and federal courts. In every single case, you are able to ultimately find fair and impartial jurors. It's whether you can be fair in this particular case. And as Temidaya said, there's questions that are designed to ask that. And I think, nobody is pro-murder or pro-rape, yet sometimes there are cases that end in acquittals, because it's about making sure that the people prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And I agree that jurors take that very seriously. And so I think the process, you have excellent lawyers on both sides. You have a really good judge here. This is not inexperienced people. They know how to pick a jury. They know how to ask the right questions. And something to keep in mind is Donald Trump has to be there every single day because it's a criminal case. He's going to be sitting at that sitting at the counsel table, and he's going to actually have to agree to every single juror. So this is going to be a jury that he picks too. He and his lawyers agree to that these are the jurors that they want sitting in judgment. So I have no problem with that.
Yeah, but Anderson, I would just point out, Anderson, I would just point out, like, the voir dire process, I think, generally works, right? If it's not Donald Trump. This is a different case. This is a former president of the United States who enrages certain people.
Right, but David, what's the answer? What's the answer? I mean, you can't. I mean,
listen. If you could go through everyone in New York, right, and go one by one. I don't know. I mean, the two criminal attorneys here could give you a better answer. I was a public finance lawyer, bond lawyer, not a trial lawyer, but I don't think you get unlimited strikes, right? You don't get unlimited strikes in the jury pool. You have a limited amount of people you can bounce off a jury. So at some point you got to accept the folks who are there, whether they're good or bad.